Oh, how y'all doing tonight? Who dat fans? If you're doing anything like me, not good. That was as the thumbnail said, the guy in the stands that had the sign, what the buck just happened. That was a total disaster of epic proportion, and it's to the point where I'm done with DA. I'm done. I tried. Fergus is also done with him too, apparently. I've tried to get this benefit of the doubt, and it looked good for 2 weeks, regardless of who we were playing and what they actually are as teams, and I think we know. You played 2 perfect football games or near perfect. You made very few mistakes. You did the things you needed to do, but adversity started hitting this team come week 3, and it's been coming at them, and they can't handle it. They don't know what to do, and I'm sorry, this just all goes back to the head coach because we've seen this song and dance over and over and over again. And I'm sitting there charting plays through the course of this game. First quarter, I'm like, here we go again. Second quarter, all of a sudden we come alive. We were resembling with a lot of adversity. I mean, hell, rookie quarterback starting for the first time ever. And all of a sudden we're making plays. We're doing the stuff we're supposed to do. We're doing the little things. As DA says, we're controlling the stuff that we can control because most of the adversity that's hitting us is stuff that's out of our control, injuries and everything else. You come out after halftime and then suddenly you lose all control. Even the stuff you can control is just off the chain. It's embarrassing. That's the worst half of football that I mean, I would probably have to go back to the Ditka era to see a half of football as maybe Hazlitt, as terrible as that was. Right now, saying fire and DA, I understand it's a super short week because, you know, we were 1 day short last week playing on Monday night. Now we got to go again on Thursday. And it's probably a tough ask. Do you think you can win a game if you were to fire DA first thing tomorrow morning? I don't know. I don't think we could, but I can almost guarantee you that we're going to lose games if DA is still the head coach. We're going to lose Thursday. We're going to keep losing. I have zero confidence. I don't understand how the team has any confidence at this point. I know he's got players that backed him hard. Demario Davis was one, but still, I we're going to get to a particular comment that raised an eyebrow. That was a tweet, but just kind of working through the game, things you can control. Big plays, the big plays you make versus the big plays you give up. That's kind of one of the stats that's used to be turnover margin. Now they still consider that, but now they're looking at this too, is those big plays, those explosive plays. I typically look at plus 10, plus 20, and plus 40. And when you look at the first half, and we were terrible in the first quarter, we were fantastic in the second quarter. So overall, when you're looking at the big plays on offense, we went 5 plus 10s, 1 plus 20, 1 plus 40. We gave up 5 plus 10s, 3 plus 20s, 1 plus 40. But while we were getting the defensive plays, the defense was making the big plays also. 3 interceptions, Cam, Abram, and Adebo all grabbed one. We had 8 pass breakups in the first half, compared to a fumble return for a touchdown that they had as their defensive big play. They had 1 sack, and Winfield had a pass breakup. On top of that, let's throw in Shaheed's punt return. So you walk into halftime with a 27-24 lead. You're feeling good. I'm feeling good, going, holy crap, we might just be able to pull this off. After the horrendous first quarter, pulled it all together in the second quarter. They did help us a little bit, but I mean, that's part of the game because God knows we were helping them a little bit in the first quarter while they were pounding us. You come out after halftime, and it's a totally different team. It's a totally different ball game. It looks like you adjusted nothing. You were prepared for nothing they were throwing at you. I don't think they were going to sit there and do all the stuff they were doing in the first half, especially the second quarter, thinking it was working. They knew it wasn't. They made a bunch of changes. We adapted to none of them. And as the game progressed, you could feel it. At 31-27, you're going, holy crap, this is reminding us all over again of Pittsburgh and Atlanta, what I had in my mind. Well, by the fourth quarter, I'm thinking, no, this is last Monday night all over again. And then not too soon after that, it's holy shit, this is even worse than those three debacles were. And it's like he has no clue how to fix any of this. Because you roll in the second half, and this is counting garbage time, so it's going to look better for us, I think, than it should. 4 plus 10s, 1 plus 20. We gave up 6 plus 10s, 4 plus 20s, 1 plus 40. Plus 40 was the 2-yard pass to Godwin, where Gay missed the tackle. Adebo bounced off of him, and nobody else could seem to run him down and get close, and he's going for 55. Our defense, 1 sack, 1 pass breakup in the second half. They get 2 picks, 4 sacks, 5 pass breakups. So they're making them on both sides of the ball. We're not doing anything. And look, as far as the missed tackles are concerned, DA is big about harping, hey, well, you got to control the things you control. Well, getting ball carriers on the ground, it doesn't get any more controllable for that if you're the defense. DA is supposed to be the defensive coordinator guru. And at one time, I think he was very good, but I'm beginning to wonder right now, has the game passed him by? Are we so archaic on defense that it doesn't take long for teams to figure out what we're trying to do and how they're going to beat us? And then once they do, we're done. So at this point, that's a lot of that stuff is the game of football. Big plays do happen. But when they start getting disproportional like that, and especially from the defensive side of the ball, and especially since you're kind of relying on your defense to make big plays, and then all of a sudden you can't even break up a pass. You can't even tackle anybody. Head coach is supposed to be the guy that fixes that, and your head coach is also the de facto defensive coordinator. Now, how about dumb penalties? I am sick and tired of that keep rearing its ugly head. And it's getting to be every week. It's getting worse and worse. Second week in a row, we had a third down conversion we badly needed wiped out because of an illegal shift. Now, it's bad enough that the guys can't figure out we're moving. We got to be set for a second before the ball snap. But on top of that, a lot of what Kubiak's trying to do in this offense, the eye candy, the motions and all that, kind of hard to do when you draw a 5-yard penalty that kills a third down conversion every single time you try to do it. It's week 6, man. You figure this crap would be done and taken care of. And these are the things you can control, and we're not controlling any of it. And we lose close games, and against good teams, when we decide not to show for a half, we get our ass blown right out of the dome. The personal foul stuff. I understand this game was chippy and it was a big rival, but we had some of these personal fouls just crushed us. One takes us out of field goal range on a face mask. Yeah. Alante Taylor draws one after Debo's interception and that awesome return. Luckily, we overcame that one, but you can't keep overcoming this stuff, especially when you're a team that's at best average right now. And I think I'm being kind because honestly, we're not a very good football team. We could be average, but we don't control the stuff that we can control. We don't fix the stuff that we can fix. And it just keeps happening. And I feel sorry for some of the guys out there who were doing the best they can and put in some tough situations. You know, hats off to Spencer Rattler getting thrown in a tough spot. Being a rookie, made some great plays, made some rookie plays. We knew that was going to happen. Well, if we can weather that storm, and if the defense does what it's supposed to do, we can hang in there. And that's kind of the way the first half played out. And you fight your way back to the lead, and you walk into the locker room, and you come out, and you get drug up and down the field for the next 2 quarters. It's hard to put that on young players or guys who are backups that are getting pressing time and are getting playing time and droves they weren't expected against, especially from our offensive side with our patchwork offensive line, our rookie starting quarterback. We get a receiver concussed and knocked out the game. Thank you, refs, for not throwing the flag on the targeting on that play. Um, that's the stuff you can't control. All that's mounting up, and we were hanging in there. And then all of a sudden, defense craps are bad, and the offense is out on an island, and Rattlers run around trying to make plays. And they knew what we were going to do, and that's the point where they were just like, we're going to pressure the hell out of the rookie. Nobody really steps up for him because we dropped some passes in that second half. That's stuff you can control. We got lucky on an overturn on a catch and a fumble that I don't know if they called seemed to me if they called the first one, but Mike Pereira said they were both the correct calls. I don't know, but it felt like if that one wouldn't have gotten overturned, you know you could logically look what happened on the lobby play. So even on the offensive side, as much as they were troopers and suck it out and tried to overcome some insurmountable odds against a pretty good defense, a good defensive front, and a great defensive head coach, de facto coordinator, and Bowles, which Allen's supposed to be. You still created your own problems on the offensive side. And I was going to watch the post game because the other thing I was going to say is, the excuses. Because when things start stacking up like this, so do the excuses. It seems like on this team, this coaching staff, this play. I couldn't force myself to do it, so I don't know what they did. I did see some blurbs on Twitter, and we're going to get to one in a second that I really find interesting. But look, all that time's done. This is the NFL. You're professionals. You get paid a lot of money. It's going to be a nice segue here in a second. You got to go play the game. You got to try to figure out a way to win it. And you're never going to win it by shooting yourself in the foot when you are facing adversity, when you are facing the injuries, when you are facing a brutal front seven with a great linebacker and an unbelievable safety who, I did the video last week. I said he is the backfield. He is the guy. When he's not there, you can throw the ball. You can do a lot of stuff against him. When he is there, he's a complete game changer. He's going to come out of nowhere. He's going to make plays, and he's going to hurt you. Yeah, I think he checked all those boxes. But I saw Matthew Harris drop this post game. This is one of the few things I saw when I was kind of perusing through Twitter about Kalen Saunders. Are the mistakes fixable? And the majority, if not all of the stuff we just talked about is fixable. And it's not getting fixed. And it's happening week after week after week. And he's saying, can you fix it on short notice? Well, I'm first thing is popping. Hey, you should have been fixing it since this started rearing up in the fifth from the Philly game. But he's like, hey, we're professionals, get paid a lot generously to, play this game. So I think we can't fix it. We're just gonna have to make changes. I couldn't agree more. Some changes need to be made. I don't know how much you can change personnel right now. Little if any, but you can start making some coaching changes. And like I said in the opening, I don't see how we're going to win a game with this going, because I really get the feeling DA doesn't understand how it's happening and has no idea to fix it. So just going to keep happening, and it's not going to get fixed. If Kubiak is willing to take the interim job, let's give him an audition for next year. If he's not, we still have Rick Dennison in the building. Let's see if he would pop out and willing to take interim. Other than that, I don't know what to do. All I know is you keep going this pace, we're going to be getting a very high draft pick next year. So, see, y'all got questions popping up here. Let me catch up. No, and believe me, I would like to do it a little earlier, but the thing is, I try to hang with for Jason. Problem with Jason is he's got a fine window before putting the little ones to bed since it's school day tomorrow, and he's in education himself, so he's got early starts in the morning too. So and like tonight, little issue popped up and he wasn't going to be able to make it. Um, Swole, um, I'd like to see it happen tomorrow. But if we did it tomorrow, I don't know if we could still win Thursday. Kind of like I said in the opening, I just don't see how we have a shot. It would be a miracle. And even if we managed to pull this game out, um, the thing I would hate about waiting is all of a sudden we give the incentive for somebody to go, "Oh, well, let's give them another week." No, but it's enough's enough. Um, I don't think the fan base can tolerate this much longer. They're going to have to make some hard decisions in that front office. As much as I love Miss Gale, I don't know how much of an active part she is in decision making if she lets Loucher and Loomis is on thin freaking ice with me and has been for a long, long time. And I can tell you straight up, if I was the owner walking there wanting to make a decision and he tried to stick up from DA, I would change my thing and go, well, let's get rid of you first, then I'll go for our DA. Um, if I remember correct, and God knows I do not want to go my notes and double check at this point. Um, but I think we helped him with that because somewhere in there, and I think it was the last time we held the ball. I'm pretty sure it was. We threw three incompletions with them sitting on three timeouts. Kind of insane with three timeouts. You could run the ball a little bit. We could have done some different stuff. Um, I think they were look, Bowles is no dummy. I mean, like he's adjusting during the game. So I get your point. But I also think that there was more of a massive adjustment. It felt like it felt like more zone they played earlier or some matchup zone, maybe little less pressure looks. Coming out in the second half, they came heavy pressure. It looks like man, and just kind of I think caught Rattler off guard a little bit. He had a little difficulty adjusting because I do remember a couple plays where, um, and this is just being a rookie and not realizing, what's coming. I think after that initial onslaught, he handled a little better, but by that time we were behind the eight ball and they knew we were basically throwing it every down. So there really still wasn't much he could do about it. Um, but more pressure looks, and it looks like the pressure looks were they were trying to work the edge more so he couldn't roll out or he couldn't scramble out in the second half because he did a few times and he hurt him with some plays, but he was definitely doing that well in the first half. And I think that was the initial adjustment was keep him in, you know, do the things our defensive coordinator slash head coach can't do is take the running quarterback who's hurting us when he's moving outside the pocket because we can't put pressure on him, figure out a way to keep him in the pocket so we can get pressure on him and sack him, which they started doing. So, um, you know, if nothing else, DA should just watch the film on what Bowles did to us and might want to start thinking about using more of that in the future. Yeah, that didn't surprise me at all. Um, Adebo has led us, I know, a couple of times this year in tackles as a corner. Now, in a bit of fairness to this, we do have Adebo, Taylor, um, for the most part, Marshawn. They'll come up and hit you and play the run. McKinstry, when he's out there, will. Um, plus whoever's playing the box safety. So, but still, you really want to see Demario Davis like today. Demario Davis and Willie Gay have to. They kind of have to be up there. They've got to be running around making plays, and I know they both are dealing with injuries and out there trying to hoof it. But excuse me, but yeah, it's putting all that on your secondary is a lot to ask for. Yeah, I'm a little bit of both though, but I hear you, Northern. Um, yeah, always does swell up like literally 24/7. I don't know where he went, but he'll probably show back up here before too much longer. I knew it wasn't as good as the numbers were. I didn't think it was. But I thought it could be. Let me back this up. The numbers early, and last year people were trying to say, and I didn't believe it last year. Hey, it's an elite defense. I'm like, no, it's a good defense, but you got to give them a complementary football style. You just can't rely on that defense to win games because it's not elite. This year, early on, we made some changes, we made some personnel changes, and you were thinking, maybe it might be. Now you've got the jump to get it elite. No, that was quickly. No, we're pretty much the same thing we were last year, and one side of the ball can't take any time off. The margin is so razor thin that when either side takes part of a game off, we're in trouble. And the defense side take a whole half off, we'll get blown out. Yeah, you and that was supposed to have been fixed, but not really. No, and part of it is like defensive scheme. Um, Yeah, and look, and honestly, I'll just kind of laugh on this one because at one point, we picked up a first down on a defensive hold because their defensive tackle grabbed our guard who was trying to get out on a linebacker to block him, drew the flag. I'm glad they weren't looking hard at that because we did the same thing a couple times and got away with it. But sometimes the defensive tackle is basically doing that's kind of egregious, grabbing a guy, but trying to jam them up so your linebackers can't come in and make tackle. And I think that's what we want to try to do with some of our beefier guys, of which Boyd wasn't active today, so he wasn't even there available to do it. But that still means somebody's got to come up and make the tackle. We did kind of miss Pete Werner today because one thing is he's great in the run game and he just doesn't normally miss tackles. If he can get there and get his hands on you, you're going down. Um, but we missed so many tackles today. Pete would have made the numbers look slightly better, but just by himself being the only guy out there running around tackling people isn't going to help. So when you have I- Gay, like I said on the Godwin, he missed one. There was one on one of Irving's runs where actually the defensive line did its job, and Gay was in the hole ready to just fill a hole and tackle him, and missed him, and Irving bounces outside and picks up yards. So um, it is kind of a group effort. Yes, that's part of the problem. Um, and some of the ones who you better players have some issues. Um, Look, Debo's a lightning rod for just getting pissed off. I know because I do it sometimes too. But the style that he plays creates a lot of plays. He can make a lot of plays, but he's going to get burnt. And he's going to get penalties. So you kind of have that catch 22 with him. Brazil, I think, is a very good pass rusher. His run defense, so he's more of a situational guy, and yet we're having to start him because I don't think we're getting anything out of our other defensive tackles. Granderson's okay. Young, I'm just expecting more out of. Do not know what's going on there. But you start getting away from those guys, yeah. Now you better players are old that they're some of them making more money than the production that they can possibly produce, which was left in their career. And the injuries thing stack up. And I love Honey Badger. God, I love Honey Badger. Honey Badger can't finish a game right now. Um, I I don't think he's played 4 quarters this year. I'm maybe, but not often. Um, yeah, Ben Johnson, he had head coaching opportunities last year and could have taken them and got paid a lot of money to do it, and he said, "No, I'm good right here." My gut feeling on that is Ben Johnson, like some of the smarter OCs, in the past or DCs had this happened to in the past, they're gonna wait for the right job, the job that they really, really want because they know they can. Something tells me right now New Orleans is not the job that he really, really wants, and I don't know if we could throw enough money at him to change his mind because apparently some of the teams looking for, coaches last year tried, and he said, "No, Imma hang with Campbell in Detroit," so but, yeah, I love last year I was banging, "Faith fire everybody, hire Ben Johnson," I'd be totally on board with that. That's also why I do wanna move on from DA because I think you got a potential guy in the building, and Kubiak. Now and to bring up Kubiak and OC, what gets lost in the wash in this game is we did do some really good stuff as far as scheming up plays. Um, I could think right away we had the big play to Moreau was, and I've got to go back and look at film on this when I get a chance tomorrow. Um, but I'm pretty sure he came across like it was from the backside of the formation in the backfield and turned up after Johnson and whoever the receiver was both started running crosses because I think that's the play Johnson actually ran into somebody. Moreau went right behind him up the field, was wide open, and kind of amazed they didn't call a pick play on that. But then watching the rest of the game, there was pick plays all over the place by both teams, and they didn't seem in. They called a lot of other stuff, but they didn't necessarily want to call that. Um, yeah, Sal's probably going back to the land of DC, and might be you know, but it might be an interesting combination if Kubiak you do make your interim, he would take the job permanently, and then can hire Sal to be his DC. Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. Um, and oddly enough, as a run defender, I think he's slightly better than he was last year. That's how not good he was last year, but he's new, definitely not where you need him to be. So right now, you're having to play a guy who should just be a more or less a specialty rusher from the inside and get some snaps on the inside. Um, he's playing a lot of snaps, and you're basically starting him. So yeah, yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. Um, doing stuff with CJ. What's up? Yeah. Um, be very careful how I say this because I'm not in the locker room. I have no access to the locker room. I have no inside information, nothing. So this is just 1000% Tim's opinion. That team started quitting. And not all of them, but just let's take it collectively as the team. Yeah, they and it seemed pockets of them did it Monday night too. And it seems like a little more maybe this time. Um, Seems like that happened a lot last year. In the end of the year, we had a mutiny, if you remember right. And then Kalen Saunders' comments about making changes. Again, I don't think he's referring to personnel. He could be. I didn't take it that way. Thinking he's thinking about other changes. He was one of the vocal ones last year, as the season rolled on about some of the stuff that was going on. So, yeah, I think I look personally. If I was a member of that team, um, I'd be asking a lot of questions and really, really pissed off about a lot of the stuff that's going on. Put it to you that way. Yeah, I think he looked pretty decent. Yep. CJ, I there's been some really good quarterbacks. Early in the week, talked about when he got the start that from preparation to taking the snap, you know, getting it out the huddle, getting the play in, communications, reading defenses, everything that goes on is part of it. And then once you receive the snap, then it's kind of the talent, the arm strength, the football sense, figure out what's going on, get the ball in the right place. Because in today, especially on that defense, a lot of times what you're seeing pre-snap ain't what they're going to do post-snap, and you have to adjust to it. Some guys do that very well, and I think he, for the most part, did it very well. Especially coming in the position he was coming in. It's a short week, so basically, kind of almost one less practice, so to speak. And what they were practicing, Um, it wasn't total normal practice because of this game and then having to play 1 3 days later. They were trying to make sure guys recovered. Not that it did 'em much good because we still got the injury bug bad. But yeah, to the second part of your point, when game film starts coming out, 2, 3, 4 games worth of tape and how all this is coming together, um, that's to me, that's any football player, especially a young one, especially a rookie. They're gonna figure stuff out about you, and they're gonna come at you, um, in 2 ways, really. They're gonna try to stop you from doing the things you do really well and try to get you to do the stuff you suck at. So, making adjustments off of that's a big time thing. Excuse me again, and the, The thing is, there are some young quarterbacks who can't or won't ever adjust to the adjustment the league is going to make against them. Uh, Gut feeling, I think Rattler will be okay on that. But they'll just have to figure it out, and he'll have to do the work once they start seeing some of that stuff pop up and teams start adjusting to him and making his life even tougher than it was most of today. Yeah, and at times it showed. But that's young, that's rookie players, and again, I hate to pick on just a quarterback because other young players will go through the same thing. But the problem is quarterback is the most important position on the field. So when it happens to them, it's like it's a big deal anytime, but it's really a big deal. And look, Bowles is one of the best at being able to do that. And so he definitely did change some stuff up on him, and he was struggling for a bit. Again, I think he started doing a little better later on in the game, recognizing what was coming, and we were a little better with the play calling. But you know, we were headed towards garbage time quickly at that point. Um, yeah, and I think part of that is they were allowing the tight ends to be involved in the game because at least early on, and they were sending some three-man fronts at times or just base four, not a lot of blitzes and stuff. And it looks like because we keep our tight ends so inside so much to help out in protection and then just kind of roll out that we schemed. Um, and I think that was the idea of why he didn't do as much pressure and man at first, because assuming we had been doing that to protect our tackles, while he was probably expecting more three-man routes, which we run an awful lot of, and figuring, well, I've got 7 or 8 back in, and the rookie's gonna have to try to thread balls in or make bad decisions. 2 things that happened was our tight ends were getting in the route and they were catching some balls. And the other thing was Rattler had some good early runs and rollouts against that to kind of help create space. And I there's one in particular on a rollout. It looks I remember the announcer saying, and I can't remember who it was, kind of set. It was looking more like it was supposed to be some type of crossing route, found a hole in his own sat, and Rattler immediately picked it up and threw the ball at him. That might have been the one he threw behind, though, and it was an incomplete, but still recognizing that is going, yeah, good stuff. Ooh, yeah, and thank God when that Devontae Adams stuff was coming up a couple weeks ago, when you thought we were a better team, we had it figured it out, and we were going, if you bring Adams in, you could run more three receiver sets, stick with 11 personnel, do some damage there. Plus, you do need a little bigger guy and some yak and some contested catches. He's good at that. It was a lot of reasons to do it. But then you realize, holy crap, it was all smoke and mirrors. We were never that close. And to give up any asset of value in the draft right now is just beyond insane. Not to mention whatever you would have to pay him on a restructure at some point, which would put you more in cap hell. So, yes, to answer your question, it is a long rebuild. They need to stick to the plan as far as that's concerned. I got giddy first 2 weeks. Who we kidding? I'm not going to say everyone. But I'll just speak for me. But yeah, now we know that now we know what is for real and what is not for real, and we have to act accordingly. So Dinola 60. Um yeah, but it's yes and no. Like the defense as a whole, I'm like just fed up. It was hard to find anything good in that second half for them. The offense, there were spots here and there. And the thing is with the offenses, they were under the gun going in this game the whole time. A, because who they were playing against. B, who their coach was. C, the phenomenal, probably best safety in the league right now, showing back up after being hurt previous game. So now it's going to be more of a complete defense. And we have all the adversity of the things we couldn't control, the injuries and all that other stuff. I mean, 7, 8 different offensive line combinations in the last 4 games or something like that, whatever the stat was they were talking about pregame. So they held up, but at the same time, yeah, when the wheels started to come off, there just wasn't a whole lot they could do at that point, especially since by that time, the other thing we haven't mentioned this yet, but that Bowles did throughout the whole game was like, uh, "F you guys, y'all are not running the ball." And they clamped down the run, and that's a big problem for us in the best set of circumstances. But you know, overall, if our defense doesn't totally abandon us and can keep us in the game, you play here, play there, maybe something turns out a little different. But once the defense disappeared and that offense was left on its own to try to win the game, yeah, it just wasn't happening. And I do think that some guys wilted. Again, mentioned earlier, there are some drop passes there that just never should have happened. They catch the ball, who knows what happens? Um, yeah, I don't know how old you are, but I can go back into Saints lore and go, "Oh my god, this offensive line is better than some of the crap that we saw in the '70s and '80s." But yeah, I feel you. Um, and what that really boils down to is, look, injuries happen in the NFL, and you can't blame anything on anything about it. But losing McCoy was devastating. What was going on in that offensive line? Um, for the most part, generally speaking, before the last couple of weeks, where the wheels have just fallen off Monday and today. I mean, who we kidding? But prior to that, look, yeah, there were times when they didn't look good. There were times when they were okay. When McCoy was there and our interior was good, we still had a fighting chance. Um, Once that happened and our interior crumbled, I mean, if you look at our edges, you basically got two rookies out there who can do some stuff well, who do still struggling with some stuff. For the most part, when you could stay in the running game, Penning's more effective. When you coming back in the passing game, you have to give him some help. Although surprisingly enough, he's not giving up as many sacks and pressures as I was planning him to have. Don't know if that's him or something else, but I mean, it is what it is. And look, Fuaga, same thing, rookie gonna makes in a highly talented rookie and a pretty good ones. He's gonna make some plays, and then he's gonna get some veteran or some coach is gonna scheme something up. It's gonna cause a problem. Best you can hope for in that situation is he like Rattler today on some of the stuff. Okay, I recognize that now. That got me. I got it. Learn from it. Move on. Get better. You know, I think you say that a lot about the Saints. If you want to have that conversation too, is that there are some guys there, both sides of the ball. When you look at them, will they ever be an All Pro Hall of Famer on the Mount Rushmore football? Hell to the no. But there's some pretty solid players there that if you could make a little better, that typical, a lot of NFL teams do this. They'll probably never get a second contract with you. Some other teams probably going to go, hey, he's a pretty decent player. We think we can make him better, throw a bunch of money at him, and you got to let him walk out the door. But a lot of teams are able to develop that. I thought we were close on some guys, both sides of the ball. I'm questioning that now, though. Um, but again, that just may be the coaching things and the things going around the team that I swear at times it seems like half the guys we have on the field are thinking about anything and everything, but I don't know, playing football. Yeah, it was definitely tale of two halves. I don't know. I don't know. Um, I think Bowles is a very good defensive coordinator. Head coach, I don't know, but he seems to be he seems to be, yeah, I think a guy that he's willing to turn stuff over to his assistants, but he's still the final say in that. Um, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with them because remember, they were in the same boat a few years ago when Brady retired that we were in now with their cap. They kind of ate it for 1 year. They found Baker Mayfield on a cheap ass deal last year. That helped them out an awful lot. Got an offensive coordinator who since moved on, got another offensive coordinator. Seems like they're both know what they're doing. Got the offense fixed. Bowles got the defense fixed. We'll see how far this goes because now they're out of the weeds as far as their cap issues and all that stuff. They're drafting well. I think they always kind of have drafted pretty good. So they may be in a position to, as they're a good team right now. They really are. They're a playoff caliber team, no doubt in my mind, and I think they're the odds on to win the South. Um, I still think they're better than Atlanta, and they kind of screwed that game up last Thursday. But who knows how it's going to turn out? But yeah, just be ready for Tampa being in the upcoming years a whole lot better than they are now. And right now, I think they're pretty good. Um, well, it's the idea is yes, they're going to bring pressure, in which again they really didn't do earlier in the game. Um, but it's where it's coming from is the problem. You can't prepare for that. I mean, because it can come from anywhere, and part of that is again going back to the play of the offensive line. You got some guys struggling in there at times, especially in the interior, and you're trying to get help. There's a lot going on. So it's not always on the quarterback. And in fact, for the most part, I think the biggest thing I would take away from, and again, I have to watch film and go break down some plays. I don't even know if I have enough time to do that. But there were a couple of times where he picked the right spot to run and roll out and try to throw the ball downfield. And in some cases, made some really good throws doing it. Other times, it looks like there's one in particular he tried to run out. Um, I think it was Vita Vey maybe, or somebody grabbed him, and I think he got back to the line of scrimmage because I think that was Vey's sack in the first half, and they called it a sack. Um, but when the camera kind of panned out, we had like two out routes that were just wide open along either sideline, and it looks like he was looking downfield and just pulled it and tried try to get out there. The pocket was collapsing, but like where he had a check down. I think part of it is too, once we went down, or I don't even know if once it happened once we went down, we started trying to take an awful lot of deep shots down the field on a regular basis. In that second half. Now, part of it was as the game started to get out of hand. I think that's about all they felt like we could try to do because there was so much man. I think they were trying to get Rashid downfield on one. Um, had him on one, and actually, I don't know what Rattler said about it post game, but the interception, I think that was the first interception he threw. If he puts a little more air out there because Rashid is so fast, that's probably a touchdown. And still, the corner had to high point that thing to get the pick, but it was slightly underthrown. And that's probably one of those things. Again, I'm hoping he learns because, oh no, that's Shaheed. You can lay that thing out there. He's going to go get it and he'll catch up to it. So, you know, pressure, where to place the ball, who you throwing it to, all that kind of stuff. I would like to think because just to genuinely show up like he did today and look pretty decent for most of the game, especially early. They said a high IQ, high football IQ. Um, really knows and understands what they're trying to do here, which ties into a lot of what he did in college, especially with Beamer in South Carolina. So, you know, make a mistake, learn from it, move on. We'll all be better for it in the end. Yeah, compared to that, it's not, but we're spoiled. We had a pretty much almost a 2-decade run there of really excellence, and it's hard for me to remember, like talking about Rattler. My instinct, or even Carr, the first few weeks, my instinct is to keep comparing him to Drew Brees as the standard bearer. But I also remember the year of the two Billy Joes when, dear Lord, Billy Joe Hobart and Billy Joe Tolliver. And if you're too young to understand or remember, yeah, those were our starting quarterbacks. They were god awful. We would have, back in those days, we were praying for, I don't care who you name, pick the worst quarterback you think is playing in the NFL right now. He was 10 times better than either one of those two chuckleheads. So yeah, Northern, I got you on that one for sure. Um, they kept telling us he was supposed to be small. I haven't necessarily seen it. Um, He was a converted tackle at Old Dominion. They're trying to make guard. He was brought in by the previous regime. I don't know. That's just throw up my hands. I honestly do not know. Yeah, I would have been my strategy too. Uh, and I don't think the sight thing was too much of a problem. I don't really know how tall he is or isn't. But he's not like Bryce Young tiny or anything like that. I don't know if like seeing downfield was really an issue for him. Could be, but I from what I felt, it was more just more of a progression, missing people because of a progression issue, or I think also there was a lot of stuff that he thought he saw pre-snap, was expecting to see it changed. But it takes a little time. Look, you're not going to see an awful lot of that like coming out of college like he was last year. Some teams, some really good defenses will do it occasionally. It's a hard thing to do. A lot of times you just don't have the athletes on the defensive side of college to do it. However, pros a different story. And when you got some of the, Levante David and an Antoine Winfield and some of those guys, especially with those pressure that those front players can bring, you can do a lot more of that and get away with it. Yeah, it's headed that way, and I think that's if you want to get back to why I'm doing the fire DA show, it is reminding me too much of that. And Bill Kuharic was the GM or the guy kind of running the front office back in those days, and Loomis has long been reminding me of him. I have terror about that reappearing because I just don't think I can go through that again. 6'0", that's supposedly Breeze's height, although to this day, I still swear Breeze was only 5'11" at best. Hank predates me. I barely remember Hank. The most I can tell you about Hank Stram is the old black and white video of him coaching the Kansas City Chiefs in that Super Bowl win, Super Bowl 3 or 4, whatever it was. Outside of that, I remember the name, but it's a little. And I know they weren't very good then because, dad, grandpa, and the whole family was constantly bitching about Hank Stram as soon as games ended, so that's about my clearest memory of him. So, yeah, gotta ask for the thumbs up on this one, and gotta say, whoever's on board with with firing Dennis. And look, I don't mean to be callous about it. You don't wanna ever see that to happen to anyone, but at the same time, it it's just getting too much to deal with. Um, just the same old. And it's either I'm gonna have to laugh and kind of joke about it, or I'm gonna have to cry. I really don't want to cry on a YouTube live stream. So, but for the most part, hey, I'm sure DA's a nice guy. I'm sure great family man and everything else. He seems to be. He seems like a guy I could hang out with, maybe talk some football with, or watch a football game with. I just can't have him as my head coach anymore. Of my favorite team. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. Yeah. Um, I'm gonna be honest with you. And again, word it carefully. Totally my opinion. Can base it on nothing other than observation and with no insider information, knowing anybody in the locker room, the front office, or anything. But it felt to me Loomis was almost like taking drug kicking and screaming into this new experiment with trying to change the offense to I don't know what most modern version of what most other teams in the league are running. Um, it seems like he just wants to be the smartest guy in the room. That's the impression I've gotten from him from years. And at one point, maybe he was, maybe he really knew what he was doing. But recently, what's been going on with the Saints, uh, personnel wise, roster wise, money wise, contract wise, everything else, I'm having a hard time to believe it. And I swear at times I think he's just in the office picking up a paycheck and smacking his gum. I think at this point, and I want to say I saw something on Twitter. Maybe it was Postgame. They talked. Maybe Da mentioned it. They think 3 to 4 weeks with Rattler because Carr's going to be out that long. Um, I'd rather see if you can develop Rattler, get him out there. He's not incompetent. He didn't look lost. He didn't look like he was seeing ghosts out there. None of that stuff. Looks like he had some semblance of a chance to run the offense when we hung with him. Um, so yeah, let him go. See how far he can take you. I think right now with the offensive line just kind of being the shambles it's in, it's yeah. I said this in the video earlier this week, and when I call a quarterback a statue, I don't mean it in a bad way, but a statue like Carr who wants to stay on his spot and throw the ball downfield. He doesn't really want to move. He doesn't, not that he can't, he doesn't, it's not his game, it's not his strength to slide around in the pocket, to move around, to roll out, much less roll out or do anything like that. He'll do it occasionally, but it's not going to be enough to help. Rattler gives you that option. Rattler gives you the option of forcing the defense to defend 11 players. I think in the case of most of today, would be nice if the other 10 would have showed up. That may be too harsh. At times, if the other 6 or 7 would have showed up and joined Rattler and a few of the guys who were actually out there trying to give, you know, best effort and not whatever. But so yeah, I at this point I'm like, yeah, I think you got to go with him. Now you're going old school Seahawks there. Well, it unfortunately you're not going to have that choice, Saint, because as a rookie quarterback, especially, that's going to happen. You just hope you get more of the first and less of the second, but it's going to happen. Um, Pop on red zone and watch some of the other rookie quarterbacks who've been starting. They go through the same thing. Um, Now I think most of them by now they're 5 6 weeks in, games in. It's kind of evening out for most of them, and most of them are in systems they're able to run. They're not asking them like the NFL used to do with rookie quarterbacks, ask them to do things and run systems they weren't capable of running. So um, there's going to be growing pains involved, but it's the only way you grow. It's the only way you get better. So I don't know. Hopefully not much, but they IR'd him, and I want to say maybe I heard 7 8 weeks, something like that. Week 9, week 10, maybe. I'm not really sure and haven't heard much from them, and they're not forthcoming with their injury information anyway. Um, but I think we're going to significantly be out of, you know, our best offensive lineman, our state in a stabilizing force. I mean, really, I think that's keeping that interior stable. I think is really what you're missing there, and probably also some part of making the line calls and all because they had taken that responsibility away from Carr and given it to him. Um, kind of forget now. I don't know who's doing it if they're letting all the parade of backup centers that are coming through right now doing that, if it's back on the quarterback. And I couldn't imagine it's back on the rookie right now because that's the kind of thing where, man, they got enough to worry about. Now you can't having them worry about what the offensive line setting protections and doing all that stuff. So eh, hopefully soon, hopefully that groin heals up real quick and they can get him back out on the field. Um, oh no, man. Look, that's all we can do right now is vent. I'm trying to keep this as PG-13 friendly as I want. You're making fun earlier about the lateness. If I ever start doing Let's Talk Saints after midnight, it's going to be R-rated. Now, I'm amazed we're almost 55 minutes in, and I hadn't dropped an F bomb yet. Because if you'd have been on my back porch with me today at noon watching the game, whew, I'd had sailors blushing. Um, yeah, easier said than done at this point. I think Ruiz is solid. Um, and he's athletic and fast, and a lot of the stuff they want to do, we have to remember that it's moving those linemen. And you started getting the backups and think he got some guys. I mean, you got Young playing right guard right now, who's really a tackle. I mean, how and he was really a tackle brought in by the previous regime to run a gap system. So not the zone scheme. So you look, my phrase is square peg round holes, and we tried this offseason. I think we were trying really hard to get round pegs and round holes, but some squares showed back up. I think Ruiz is more suited for the zone scheme. I think that was very apparent early on, which is another screw up front office wise and everything else because you drafted him and tried to throw him in the gap. And I mean, if nothing else, if this little experiment finally gets to go around and go, hey, play guys where they need to play and not where you need a scheme fit and draft accordingly. Well, I don't know how you fix that problem, especially now, because there ain't no tackle worth a damn anywhere out there right now that's available. So just cross that bridge when you come to it. As a guy with a chronic back problem for 30 plus years, I hear what you're screaming, but who knows? And don't really know what the back issue is. So it might be something chronic and degenerative like Ramchek's knee, in which case, holy shit, or it just might be back injury that he can play through right now, and hopefully they'll be able to fix it up in the offseason. Sort of like the neck issue that Chase Young had, and it's where it's not a problem by the time next season rolls around. I give him all the respect in the world that he's basically a tackle hanging out in right guard and having to deal with the stuff going on in there. I mean, you think about it. You know, Vita Vea is a Logan Hall. Though Cansey came back today and he was a force in the game. Uh, Dealing with that stuff, all kind of respect for having to deal with that, And I mean, to Landon Young's credit, and it should be mentioned, just okay, you need me to play right guard. I'm gonna get in there and bang heads and play right guard. Yeah, but I don't think he's really in position. I think he's just kind of there because you needed him to be. Water. Sorry, but no, um, just water. Got to keep the throat going. So, all righty. So if you got anything else, hit it with me quick. Almost in an hour, and I'm feeling better again. Sort of like the last couple of weeks. It's kind of cathartic to get this stuff out of my system, and you know, I say not to keep me up all night, but it'll probably keep me up all night because it's still so damn annoying to keep. I mean, it's insanity. It's this. They're letting the same thing happen over and over again, and they're trying to expect a different result, and it's just not going to happen. Um, offensive line. I think whatever you want to do, it's got to be done up there. I think most of the players coming back that we know is coming back next year. You're in fairly good shape. You're still going to have to draft well throughout the whole entire draft if you want to fix this problem. Um, for instance, I was not a fan of drafting Bub Means in the fifth round. I thought there was a bunch of guys out there better than he was. Finally get him on the field today, and he's the guy I said earlier in the week that there's going to be some young receiver that Rattler's been working it consistently. It's going to come up and have a day. We hope he does, and it was Means. You're going to still have to find those type guys, but I would say offensive line or edge, and that's kind of how we walked into this year with the same two issues. Um, Linebackers probably eventually going to be an issue, but
quite honestly, the colleges aren't producing right now a bunch of good linebackers to come up and play in the NFL anyway. So I don't know what you do there. You find a corner, you grab a young safety that can play, that would help there too. But uh, and if Kendra Miller doesn't, and I hadn't even gotten to that gripe yet, but if he doesn't get on the field and prove he can run in this system, which I think he can, and he can throw some big production out there, which I think he can, you're going to need a running back. Bottom line. Um, Now, my gripe about Kendra Miller is you activated him up off of IR, and then he's still inactive today. I do not. Denver is going to bring another good, especially in the front. Um, Now, Sertan got hurt, but if we can block up a little better and run the ball, having their best corner not on the field is probably not really going to affect what we do. Um, and they have a mobile quarterback who can run. A lot more mobile than Baker Mayfield. Look how Mayfield hurt us today with a couple of scrambles. So, and if Dennis Allen's still a head coach, yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm not joking when I say I just don't see how we can win another game with him running the show. Yes, we will, especially under the current set of circumstances. Um, Anticipating, you know, we'll be in the upper end of the draft this next year coming up, which they don't screw it up. Maybe it's not going to be such a bad thing. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I just and I'm kind of going off the top of my head, and I was just also trying to not nitpick while I was watching them, and also just trying to enjoy the game a little bit, especially in the second quarter when it looked like we had a shot to winning it. But yeah, hey, you can find there were no egregious errors that I noticed that he made, um, other than not leading Rashid enough on that pass. That still a tough throw, and it's not about the arm talent or anything. I think that was just a little misjudgment of where he needed to put the ball so he could catch it. We can should be able to fix that easily. And then the other interception, I think at that point he was just kind of getting late in the game, and they were forcing stuff, and I don't want to see that again. Don't force the ball, especially in garbage time when the game was all but decided. But no back foot throws, no. I can't think of any like really ill-advised reads where he was trying to force ball into coverage or anything. Maybe the second pick, but um, for the most part, competent and clean. I thought that's the way he played and made some really special throws in that game. Like a couple of means, a couple of other ones out there, a couple that should have been caught and weren't. Who we kidding? So yeah, you got me on that. If he's healthy, I have no idea why he wasn't active today because he's on the roster. They activated him. He's finally off IR. In fact, I think they did that yesterday or Friday. I don't remember when. But when they did that, I was like, all right, Miller should be good to go. Let's get him in there. See if, you know, even if he's still limited to the number of snaps he can have, see if we can get the ball in his hands and he can go make a play. And he was inactive today. So that didn't happen. Yeah, I just hope they do. My big concern, Dinola, is they won't. That they get. I mean, it's the ultimate smart or Saints move. Do you fire your head coach at this point coming in? I think most people say, yeah, it's a smart move, but do we get the Saint move where they try to ride him out for some reason for another year? I don't know. But and look, Salah got bounced. There's a lot of rumbling about McCarthy and Dallas possibly getting bounced. And I feel like you might have the guy you want to give the reins over to as your offensive coordinator right now. I still going, I'd like to give him a tryout this year and see what happens. Um, I don't know if it was King Solomon, maybe he cut it in half and gave them each half, but, yeah, I no clue, but that was a great play. That I mean, really and truly on both ends of that was a dime pass, um, and Means with the, the toe tap swag there to, uh that's the kind of stuff you look at and you see, from both of them growing, man, that's stuff you can work with in the future with 2 rookies. Um, all I can do is really speculate there, but I'll put it to you this way. He was a productive and one of the best receivers in the ACC, and still he went to the 6th round. So I just scratch my head and wonder sometimes why a guy who is obviously so talented didn't draw a lot of faith. So I don't know. I can almost guarantee you Sean is scheming him up, and he'll probably go 9 for 120 and 2 touchdowns on Thursday night against us. But um, he drew the iron, was in the doghouse very early in the offseason around, I think, OTAs, really. So I just feel like something else maybe more going on there. I don't know that for sure, and I'm not saying there is, but just my opinion, gut feeling that it this might be one of those situations a little more than ability. No, absolutely not. God knows this team has enough problems without the potential fallout and BS from outside of that would come into this. Like, no, no, I don't see that happening at all. I honestly, and I was watching the game and I knew they got blown out, but he said it. I didn't really realize it was Dallas. I was still kind of for most of the 3 o'clock window in red zone. I was in like this haze of what the buck just happened, like the thumbnail says. So, but yeah, it's to the point right now. I'm so just run out, thinned out about what's going on. The last 4 weeks, because think about it. You win. I mean, it was perfect games. It's hard to do that in the NFL. It's hard to put up numbers like that. You went to the mat with Philly. You probably should have won that game. You probably should have a chance to win it at the end, at the very least. You definitely should have beat Atlanta. So you're going, maybe they're just blips. We'll get back to it. You got handled horribly in Arrowhead, and then you got blown out of your own building. So, uh, what other teams are doing right now is just getting so far falling back from my memory because or acknowledgement, I should say. That's like, yeah, I kind of know what's going on, but not really. I, it's not really sinking in what those other teams are doing. No, Denver got him. Almost he Denver claimed him off waivers Monday. Yeah, he's been in Denver all week. Uh, do they? I don't know if he was there or not. If he's still there, what's going on? Like I said, I'm not up on everybody's roster over there because I know they've made some moves and continue to make moves. And actually, they probably picked up Perry knowing they were coming in to play us because that's one of Sean's famous moves over the years. This upcoming opponent cut somebody and he would claim them off waivers to get them on the taxi squad. So I think he could pick their brains. But I don't even know Perry played today. I know Denver struggled for most of that game. I think they made a little comeback at the end, but I'm not really sure who they were getting the ball to in that one. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen Mora lately, Jim Mora Senior lately, but every now and then I do catch him. I forget I can't remember which station he's on, but I catch him a little bit, and it's like he's still fiery and angry. He can go off pretty quick on some of the stuff that goes on in Saints games. It's kind of funny, you know. Yeah, like I said, I was just he was the guy that falls in the six because granted, receivers have been deep in the drafts and it's getting harder and harder to quantify him. But man, he he was a top guy in the ACC, which pretty good football conference. It's pretty decent defenses. I mean, you saw his ability and everything. To see him drop so far in the draft, it's not like Rattler dropping all the way in the fifth round. You just kind of go, what's going on there? But there may be a story behind it. Who knows? And we just don't know. But um, I do feel like there was some in house stuff in there somewhere, and they just that was that. Um, Perry seemed I did see something he posted on Twitter. Just seemed very surprised that it happened. So I don't know. Yeah, it could have been. Um, at this point, it's like I kind of wish that Denver would have taken DA and we'd have kept AT Perry, but yeah, I mean, what the hell? All righty, guys, or any ladies who may be here also. I think it's going to about wrap it up for this one. Um, with the game on Thursday, I may try to jump in and do pregame um, live and no postgame on that one because that one's going to be in another obscenely late go at it. And then we'll come on, try to get back on regular schedule next week after the long bye. Um, I will do just a little recap preview, but it being a short week, you're just not going to have a lot of information on what's going on out there. And I hate these Thursday games with a passion. It just feels like you want to survive without half your roster getting injured. And we've already had enough problems with that. And generally speaking, I find the football isn't very good to watch a game, although we managed to get a couple good ones this year. So, um, may do a little short preview show, and then we'll just kind of get back on our regular schedule next week. So, uh, no, 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 no. After Wood went on that, no, 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 no. Um, no, this team doesn't appear to believe that accountability is a real thing, and that maybe you should have some of it so you can actually, going back to the beginning of this, fix the things that you can fix, which is all the stuff they're not fixing, which keeps coming back and biting them squarely on the behind. So, yeah, that doesn't. They talk about it a lot, but to actually come through and fix it does not seem to be that high on their agenda. So, yep. All righty. I think we're gonna shut this one down just a little bit short, an hour and 15 minutes. Um, if you're new here, please go ahead and hit the like, share, subscribe, hit notifications, especially this week since we've got the screwed up Thursday night game, and I'm trying to figure out about when we can get together again. Um, I almost feel like I can call a prediction and do everything right now because I've said a couple times tonight. I just feel like as long as DA's running the show, they ain't no way in hell we're beating Denver Thursday night, and we're about already sitting on the precipice of losing 5 in a row and losing our third straight game at home. That should never happen. And if he isn't, I mean, if they're not going to go in and fire him tomorrow, they better walk in and give him the mandate. Da, you've got to win Thursday night. I don't even know if you're going to have a lot of people in the dome Thursday and a lot of Saints fans in the dome Thursday night. I, I I'm not even sure. Um, the fact that it's Sean, maybe there's a good chance Da is going to get booed and Sean's going to get cheered. I mean, I wouldn't say it's no, not possible, but I that's where we live in where I could see that actually happening. So it's it is what it is at this point. So we're just gonna have to grin, bear it, and move on and deal with it. and kind of make the best of it along the way. So I will, like I said, see y'all all definitely one more time this week. Gonna probably try to look forward to a just a little pregame thing on Thursday. Maybe get our bitching out before the game actually kicks off and we witness the pain of it all. So till then, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.